Hey folks, this is Ben Yessel. How's it going? Um, Making another video here before go to sleep here tonight. And of course, I'm staying at my parents' home this weekend. And I have a few thoughts for you guys. Sometimes they just come. So when they come, I try to mention them. So, watching a little bit of George Carlin, thinking back to some earlier thoughts today. And of course, today was Sunday, so this is a good day to talk about this sort of thing. Some of us are going to keep asking ourselves, well, most of us will, not all of us, where do we stand before God, if indeed we believe God even exists? Are we going to heaven or hell? It's one of the questions we're going to keep asking, and some of us really get sick and tired of having that nagging question, even if we feel like we're doing very well in life. Or we just are going to say we're going to hell and let it be just something we put out of our minds. This is what I'm suggesting that we ought to think more about in this regard. Because it is sometimes hard for me to not think about the wrongs that have been done to me. I don't know if you guys are like that, but it's hard sometimes. I don't think about during the day this sort of thing. It's always at night. Sometimes I have racing thoughts at night in this regard. Anyway, I mentioned this to my parents, and I'll mention this again on YouTube, because I think there's a lot of weight to this. I'll never get to a point in my life where I think this gets discounted. Because we have impressions of people, but they're just that. They're just impressions. They're not always 100% truth about people. But they're not completely without truth. There's always some truth to what we sense about people. Some of us see more than others. Whatever. It's just, whatever. But it's kind of like, okay. If we're still getting hung up about different churches, I kind of think of it this way. And I think you guys get the gist of what I'm trying to say here as I go. I go to the church of, I like to laugh smugly when someone thinks they're as good as I am in some area of music or something else, whatever it is. I go to that church where people laugh kind of arrogantly or smugly. Right? And you might be saying, well, who says that? Don't, just bear with me, right? I go to the church of people that are good with money, saving money, and we're cheapskates, but we save lots of money for those big purchases. Yeah, I go to the church of I don't have time for anyone who's even remotely annoying. I just spend time with quality people. I go to the church of it's hard for me to meet new people that I really like or want to spend time with. I go to the church of um, I love mysteries and symbols and old things that are hard to understand, make sense of, because it's so interesting. I go to the church of the more money you make, the better. I go to the church of um, how how well dressed am I? How well groomed am I? Do I smell good? What am I always putting my best foot forward? Um, how are my manners? I go to the church of I spend all my time with um, my parents and my siblings. I don't spend any time dating. I go to the church of um, holding grudges. I go to the church of spending large chunks of the day doing sexual things. Whatever it is, I go to the church of don't mess with me. I've got my 9mm. I'm gonna clock you and just gonna get you. At least expect it. I go to the church of I'm bigger and tougher than anyone, so don't mess with me. I go to the church of I'm wealthier than everybody else I know. I got more money than I know what to do with. Life is my playground. I go to the church of I'm more intelligent than anybody I know. So what's the point of spending any time with anybody? I'm just gonna do what I gotta do, my own projects. I go to the church of screw other people. They've all been crappy people to me. I go to the church of I hate my job, but I still do it because I'm a good worker. But one of these days I'm going to lose it. I go to church of I'm my own boss, and that's the way it's always going to be. I don't take any orders from anybody. I go to a church of I live my own out in the forest. I don't have to deal with anybody else. That's the way I like it. I go to the church of I believe in all kinds of stuff that's supernatural. And who are we to judge anything in that regard that's invisible? It's all very real. It's all very emotional. I believe in all kinds of stuff. I believe in everything. It's all equally um, things that are occupy my thoughts, and I just try to make sure that I have all my protections and all my amulets and all my candles and all my Buddhas and all my protections and sage everywhere I can get them. I belong to the church of I like picking fights with people. Sorry, there's popcorn in my mouth, my throat. I'm gonna say that again. I go to the church of I like picking fights with people. I like contention. I like fights. I like violence. I like arguing. And if things are too peaceful, then I get bored. So I've got to start something. I go to a church of I'm going to do whatever the devil I want to do. I don't want to be told by anybody what to do. I go to a church of any church that asks for money is false. Because they're all corrupt anyway. I go to the church of kids are stinky and take up all your time. Why have them? I go to the church of I'm sick and tired of the opposite sex. I'm sick and tired of people in general. I just want nothing to do with all that stuff. I go to church of all I want to do is sleep all day. I go to church of I hate politics. I go to church of um, anything that isn't scientifically provable is like Santa Claus. It's just a nice idea, but it's not real. I go to the church of grades are everything, resumes everything, where you went to college is everything, what jobs you had is everything. It's everything, and whatever isn't a grade in college, or GPA, whatever isn't regarding my career path and my own success in life, in that regard, I just don't have time for it. I go to the church where I pat people on the back and they pat me on the back for how skilled I am at something, how renowned I am at something. Because that's what really matters. I go to the church of, I believe in helping people however I can every day. I belong to the church of be very um, sensitive to kids and to people in general. And I don't believe in ignoring people just because they are not very desirable to be around. I go to the church of, I just want my own personal space, my own personal habitat. Everything just needs to be just so. That's all that matters to me. I go to the church of, I just want some creature comforts, a little bit of money, a little bit of food, just the basics like that. I'm good. I go to the church of, can't stand niggers. I go to the church of, I don't have time for anything difficult. All I want to do is easy stuff. It's enjoyable and fun. Life is too short. I go to the church of, I work really, really hard and I play really hard. Enough said. I go to the church of, I don't believe in complicated theology. I just believe in myself and God and the country and family. Keep it simple. And on and on and on. Okay, so what am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say is that whatever one of these things applies to me or to you guys, and you would know how much it applies to you when you heard it. The more it applies to you and to me, the more that it's determining where we're going to end up. And where we're going to end up is we're going to end up with people that have the same feelings that we have about things. It's how it's going to happen. Why would God have us spend the eternities around people that we're nothing like? No, that's not how it's going to be. So there's this idea of, these different ideas of places we're going to live. Whether it's heaven or hell, two different places. And there was a Simpsons episode about the Protestant heaven and Catholic heaven and all this stuff, right? In my religion, we have at least 4 different kingdoms mentioned, one of which is divided into 3 different kingdoms. But there's really kind of... all this is overlooking, again, one big factor, one big thing, which we experience in this life, and that is we really don't want to spend time, if we had a choice, we really don't want to spend any time with people that we simply don't like. We don't like to be around them. We just, sometimes we try our best to be friends with people. We really do. And God knows when we've done our best. I think we have a pretty idea as well. But when push comes to shove, at the end of the day, we don't want to spend time with people that make our lives miserable. We want to spend time with people that make our lives more joyful and happy and meaningful. But that whole miserable thing, it's a complicated thing, of course, because people that we love will still make us miserable at times, but we will keep loving them and keep that relationship going because why? Because of something we see in that person. And so uh, the laws and I don't want to say laws, the habits that we keep, the character that we form, that our desires, things we spend time doing. We're in this life, we're developing all these qualities, and in the next life, we're going to be the same way. And we're going to want to be around spirits that are just like us. Let it sink in. Let it sink in some more. We maybe throughout most of our lives, much of our lives, have not been around people that we really enjoyed being around. And in the next life, it will be different. Fundamentally different. What will be keeping us from being around people we prefer to be around? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's no need to sustain the life of the body when we're dead because we'll just be spirits, so we don't have to worry about money at all. Money will be a thing of the past. Food, a thing of the past. Sleep, a thing of the past. Having a house. These are all things that we won't need. Just have our relationships, our own character, and our knowledge. Which is important to remember for this life because that's one of the only things we can take with us. Is our love for people, or relationships, whatever, our knowledge, and our character, our habits. But it's this stuff. It's was it, I belong to this church, that church. Notice I wasn't talking about. I wasn't naming different churches, that you might know by name. I was talking about things that form part of our character, or elements of character. Because that's what matters. That's what matters. And we want to be more around people that think like we do, that value what we value. And we're going to end up in the eternities in a place where we are happiest and most comfortable. But when I say happiest, what I mean is more kind of like, where are people going to be the most accepting of us? It's going to be, people are going to be the most accepting of us where we are most like them. Where they understand us at a very deep level. And whatever eternal laws have been kept or broken, however many there are, however God sees it, however, wherever we fall in that whole thing, we'll go where we are most comfortable going, at the great judgment bar of Christ, kind of thing. That's how it works. That's how it works. We're not going to end up I mean, if we have no desire to murder people, we're not going to end up with murderers, right? If we have no desire to be unfaithful to our spouses, we're not going to end up with people that are committing adultery, right? If we haven't stolen or robbed, right, stuff, we're not going to end up with thieves, different kinds of theft, and you can just go on and on down the list. If we value education, we'll be around people that value education. If we value things of the imagination, we'll be around people that value things of the imagination. We're not going to be hanging out with Adolf Hitler the rest of eternity. But you never know where Adolf Hitler's going to end up, because it's not exactly like game over for everybody yet. I hope this is making some sense, because here's one of the biggest things about life. I have to keep remembering this. It's like, it's very easy to be not happy with other people if you've been wronged quite a bit. It's very easy. I have a cousin who doesn't want anything to do with my church. Nothing. Heck, he doesn't even want my uncle visiting him. He's very intelligent, extremely so. I guess he's been dating somebody. He's older than I am. And my cousin, who I love deeply, but I've never had a chance to talk to very much, is a much, much better man. Much better man. Infinitely better, in my opinion, than many other people out there who I think are still people that I would like to get to know. But, like, whoa, really? Yeah. And my cousin, yeah, it's like, what do we often think? We often have in mind how we're viewed by other people, right? In terms of what? Character, righteousness? I'm not saying there's nothing to that. I'm just saying, wow. For every one thing that you hear that's indeed true, we should take to heart and do something about it to improve our lives, we probably hear 9 things that are half-truths or not even true at all. Maybe it's not quite that high. Maybe it's a little more like half and half, right? But, I don't know. Who knows? But it's just, wow, man, this is a very universal thing. And nobody can silence me. Nobody can silence me. I will not be silenced. This is one of the most fundamental things I understand about life, is that people will tend sooner or later to meet each other that are alike, more like each other. Sooner or later that's going to happen. Whether this life or the next. And nobody can prevent that. You can try. What would prevent, what could prevent somebody from, as we get into character stuff, this is very religious, This is the heart of the matter. We talk about Christ all the time. We talk about his atonement. We talk about, it doesn't sink in as deeply when it's just a bunch of words that we hear at church, and we're not talking about we're not thinking about our own lives and the people we've known and the thoughts we have and decisions we make. I'm not thinking about how Jesus applies to all this stuff if we are Christian. So when we hear this stuff, it's just often, if we have our own thoughts, like, oh boy, here we go, kind of thing. well, yeah, we won't get much out of it, what we're hearing. And a lot of times, what do we hear? It just depends on, anyway. But this is real. This is a very real thing. God is just. A just God can never separate people that are meant to have some kind of association with each other. When I was in college, both BYU and Central Washington University, most of the time I ate lunch by myself. I'm not an unpleasant person. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. I don't know. I had my own schedule. I had my own thing. If I saw somebody recognized, I might sit with them. Might not. Man, there's so many. That's just one of countless things about my life. I've been like, I would have liked to have had more company, but I didn't. I don't know. Everybody was about doing their own thing, caring about going to their classes, doing homework. I got my straight A's. I did my duty. And everybody's thinking to themselves, this is one of the things that's the most insulting of all sentiments to me in my faith when I hear this. Oh, I'm doing this and this and this and this and this. Aren't I so righteous? I would say that person. I guess. Sure. Who are you trying to please? Are you trying to please God, or are you trying to please me? When you're telling me this stuff, or when you're hinting at all these good things you're doing. To me, it's not real at all, until it becomes real. And what's real? What's real is something that you feel inside. That's undeniably a good feeling. That's real. And that's a real thing. It's not something that's just, that's a real thing. If it's like spiritual happiness that we're feeling, joy around, certain people and stuff, that's a real thing. And or you can feel the opposite, kinds of feelings. But, so if I'm around somebody, I'm just getting this feeling of, okay, you checked another box. You're checking all the boxes. Well, here's a big check mark for you. You're doing great. Yeah. I mean, I hate this. I hate this feeling. I know it's like everywhere. It's not just in my church. It's insulting. It's insulting to me. It's insulting to everyone else. That has to. The reason it's insulting is because we're not check marks. We're not projects. We're people. So why don't we treat each other like other human beings? We're all brothers and sisters. Why do we treat each other like check marks? Okay. Leave thoughts and comments below. Catch you later. Take care. Bye.